The decision by the Department of Homeland Security, under Secretary Kristi Noem, to proceed with a $172 million sole source contract for 2 luxury Gulfstream G700 private jets for the Coast Guard's Long Range Command and Control aircraft fleet has ignited a firestorm of controversy. This high-profile acquisition, finalized amid a government shutdown, has transformed a standard military procurement into a national debate over executive discretion, fiscal responsibility, and the perceived prioritization of executive comfort over the operational needs of a vital military service. The acquisition and its context. The United States Coast Guard maintains a fleet of aircraft, known as the LRCCA, to provide secure long-range transportation and communications for its senior leadership and the Secretary of DHS. The controversy began with the plan to replace an aging jet in this fleet, a Gulfstream CG-101 G550 that DHS described as over 20 years old, beyond its service life, and suffering from communications and avionics obsolescence. Dramatic cost and scope escalation. The initial request, as outlined in the Coast Guard's earlier budget proposal, was for the acquisition of a single replacement aircraft, likely a Gulfstream V or similar model, estimated to cost around $50 million. The final, unannounced contract represented a massive escalation, securing 2 of the most luxurious and technologically advanced business jets on the market, the Gulfstream G700, for a total cost variously reported between $172 million and $200 million. The G700 jets are state-of-the-art aircraft marketed for their spacious cabins, which are the largest in the business aviation industry, further fueling accusations that the purchase was more about executive comfort than military necessity. Timing and the government shutdown. The timing of the contract announcement during an active government shutdown was particularly inflammatory. Critics immediately highlighted the stark moral and fiscal contradiction of finalizing a massive luxury jet purchase when many Coast Guard personnel and other federal workers were facing missed paychecks or working without guaranteed compensation. Secretary Noem, whose role as DHS Secretary puts her in command of the Coast Guard, was directly implicated due to the department's public statement that she personally signs off on all DHS contracts exceeding $400,000. This centralized approval process led congressional critics to assert that the purchase was driven by her personal preferences and priorities. The clash over fiscal responsibility and operational need. The DHS and USCG defended the decision, centering their arguments on safety and operational necessity. Safety and service life. DHS stressed that the existing jet was a matter of safety, pointing to its age and the increasing unreliability of its avionics and secure communications systems. Mission requirements. Officials argued that the aircraft are essential to provide secure, reliable, on-demand movement for senior leaders, including the DHS Secretary and the Commandant, to visit remote operating forces, conduct critical missions, and return to Washington, D.C. to manage the department. Redundancy and availability. The purchase of 2 new jets instead of 1 was justified as necessary to ensure one aircraft is always available for missions while the other undergoes routine maintenance or modifications, thus enhancing fleet reliability. However, these justifications were largely overshadowed by strong counterarguments from watchdogs and congressional members who questioned the shift in procurement strategy. Prioritizing comfort over readiness. Critics noted that while the executive fleet was being dramatically upgraded with top-tier luxury jets, much of the Coast Guard's operational fleet, including search and rescue helicopters and ships, are also aging and desperately in need of recapitalization. They argued the funds could have been better directed toward mission-critical assets. Lack of justification. Lawmakers demanded documentation, such as an analysis of alternatives, to explain the sudden shift from a $50 million single replacement plan to a nearly $200 million twin-jet purchase. The sole source nature of the contract further reduced transparency and competition. Questionable funding source. The most pressing immediate question raised by Congress was the source of the funding. Given the contract's massive deviation from the approved budget strategy, Congress demanded clarification on whether the funds were diverted from other, potentially more urgent USCG programs or from emergency appropriations. Congressional and political fallout. The political fallout was swift and severe. Senior Democratic leaders in the House Appropriations Committee and the Homeland Security Subcommittee sent a strongly worded letter to Secretary Noem. The letter expressed deep concern over her judgment, leadership priorities, and responsibility as a steward of taxpayer dollars, concluding that the procurement of the luxury jets suggested the USCG had been directed to prioritize the Secretary's comfort over the service's operational needs. The controversy is seen as fitting a larger narrative of questionable executive spending, building on previous scrutiny of Noem's personal travel expenses and her choice to reside rent-free in a Coast Guard-reserved quarter. In essence, the $172 million jet purchase has become a highly visible symbol of a perceived abuse of executive authority and a failure to exercise appropriate fiscal restraint. It directly challenges the core principle of responsible government, that taxpayer funds should be deployed transparently and prioritized based on defined operational necessity, particularly within a military branch like the Coast Guard, whose members risk their lives on aging equipment. The outcome of the subsequent congressional and legal inquiries will determine not only the fate of the luxury jets, but also the future transparency and accountability of high-value federal procurements.